Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for Week 7 of the Rugby Research and Injury Prevention Group 2025 Professional Development Series. My name is William McIntyre. I'm a rising senior at Howard University studying sports medicine. Now we'll begin presenting with our presenting intern, Violet Torres. She is a rising junior at Athletico College. Violet will be presenting on body language. Violet, may you please share your screen?
Yes, thank you, William. Can everyone see my screen? So yeah, as William said, I will be discussing body language tonight. So I'd like to start off with what is body language. And it's a nonverbal communication through posture, facial expressions, gestures, and eye contact. It accounts for about 55% of communication meaning, and one of the references that I use with Meriabian from 1971. And it also influences perception and emotional connection. Body language helps others quickly judge your confidence, openness, and emotional state. It can build rapport or create barriers in communication even before you say a word. So why does body language matter within the workplace? One, it builds trust and credibility. It enhances active listening and engagement. It influences first impressions, supports or contradicts verbal messages, helps in conflict resolution by signaling openness or defensiveness, and it influences leadership effectiveness and team motivation. So your body language can either support your words or raise doubts. Consistent and open body language conveys professionalism and emotional intelligence. Positive body language cues. Make sure that your posture is upright and you have an open stance. Your eye contact is maintained, but you're not necessarily staring at the other person. Your gestures should be controlled but and expressive, but not to an excessive point. Your facial expressions should be engaged and appropriate depending on the context. So let's say you're at an interview or you're in the workplace and you're having a conversation with someone and they make a joke, you know, give them a laugh. Make sure you're entertaining the conversation and you're showing that you're present and you're active, but not to the extreme where you're showing yourself in a non-professional way. These cues can help others perceive you as confident, approachable, and engaged. And for instance, leaning slightly forward when listening shows interest. So, what are things that you should avoid? You should avoid slouching or crossing your arms, which would be a closed posture. You should avoiding eye contact, fidgeting or checking your phone, forced or fake smiles, and overpowering gestures. Negative body language often sends unintended messages, whether we realize it or not, and crossing our arms can sometimes maybe seen as defensive or uninterested. And while constant fidgeting can signal nervousness or boredom, which also doesn't reflect professionalism, and it also just gives off the wrong idea that maybe this position isn't something that you actually want and you're probably doing it for other reasons. It's just important to be mindful of everything that you're doing and making sure that you are aware that everything you may show on your face or that you may act out, it will reflect something about you that someone else can interpret in the wrong way or in a way that you are meaning to convey yourself. So, cultural considerations. Eye contact norms can vary. Being aware of the cultural differences can prevent workplace misunderstandings and offenses. Personal space expectations may differ, and as well as gestures in different places can vary in meanings as well. And learning about your colleagues' culture backgrounds can show respect and build stronger relationships within the community. So, being in a diverse workplace, it's important to consider cultural norms. And what's polite in one culture may seem a little aggressive or rude in another. So, it's just important to keep note of that and make sure you know the rooms that you are stepping into and that you're able to read social cues as well as just reading the room itself. Body language in interviews and presentations. So it's important to smile genuinely to show some warmth, to show some character, as well as maintaining posture to convey confidence, using hand gestures to emphasize points, and mirroring the interview's energy subtly. So, like I said earlier, if someone were to say a joke, give them a laugh, give them a smile, make sure that they know that you're listening and that you're being attentive. Matching your energy level to the situation also shows emotional intelligence, and maintaining a calm demeanor helps manage nervousness, but also projects professionalism. So it's important to also make sure that the way that you're representing yourself and the way that you're expressing yourself can help you with your nervousness and can build up your confidence as well as showing that professionalism that you have. If interviewers often assess body language as a sign of readiness and fit, and by practicing maintaining consistent nonverbal signs during mock interviews or presentations with people that you know or friends or family can really help strengthen that confidence of yours. So, digital body language. It's important to sit upright during virtual meetings, look at the camera to stimulate eye contact, as it's more difficult to maintain eye contact while being online and being asynchronous. It's important to make sure that you're always looking at the screen and making sure that you're moving your eyes around just to make note that you are paying attention and you are being attentive, especially if it's a presentation. You want to make sure that, the person can see that you're reading the slides or not looking too busy to the point where it looks like you're doing something else and you're unfocused on their presentation. Using facial expressions to show attentiveness is also a huge thing, especially being online. And by minimizing your distractions, which is, like I said, doing something else on your computer or looking down at your phone, looking down on a notebook, whatever it is that you have on hand. Notes are important so that it looks like people know that you're paying attention and that you're interested in their presentation or whatever the case may be that you're on Zoom, but not doing it, making sure that there's a balance and looking at the camera, but also taking note of the things that you are listening to. So yeah, even on Zoom, your posture and expressions matter, but just be mindful of your body language online as you would be in person. Everything matters and people see everything. So it's just important to make note of that. So some tips for improving body language would be to practice in front of a mirror or even record yourself. I find that recording yourself might be more useful because you're not able to directly see yourself and it makes it more difficult for you to stay focused or become more comfortable. It's good to put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that when you go and do the real thing, you're more confident and you know that you've done it before. It's important to get feedback from mentors or peers. It's also effective to watch speakers or observe their body language. Be self-aware, not self-conscious. I feel like that's a big thing. It's more important to be knowledgeable of what you're doing and how you're acting rather than scared or afraid that you might do something wrong, but yet moving in the way that you know how to move and just being confident and just asking for advice, honestly. Asking for help and advice is probably the best thing to do, especially in cases like these. So improving body language is definitely a skill and it takes practice and reflection, but small adjustments can have a huge impact. So just some final thoughts. Effective body language enhances emotional intelligence and interpersonal skills. Small adjustments in posture or facial expression can change how messages are received, and being mindful of body language leads to better self-confidence as well as influence. Remember that your professionalism is more than what you say, it's how you carry yourself, and mastering body language elevates your communication as well as your influence. And these are my references.
Thank you, Val, for your presentation. Are there any questions? Or Dr. Lopez, everything to add?
Hey Violet, I want to thank you for that presentation. I don't have any questions, but I did want to add something maybe for the rest of the group. I think something that can help out or something that's helped me out when I'm interacting with other people or interviews is we can try to memorize so many cues like, oh, let's maintain eye contact, let's have an open body posture, not closed. But I think something that could really help out is just try to genuinely care for what the other person is saying, like actually be interested in them. And I know it sounds really simple, but when you genuinely care and you ask them questions and you try to ask them more stuff, people love to maybe talk about themselves and let you know more about themselves. So be open to asking questions, you know? So I think that could be a helpful tip when you're interacting with other people.
Um, Hello, Violet. I just wanted to add a little bit as well. I think that one good part, and this is like very important, is that certain things, and like you mentioned, eye contact that can sort of differ based on the situation. So in some different situations, eye contact may be very appropriate. In other times, as you mentioned, it could be seen as disrespectful in certain atmospheres. So it's important to really evaluate the situation. And I just wanted to add on Gabe's point is I think that's really important to just, relax and to be yourself because especially like let's say as he mentioned an interview process, you're being hired for being yourself. So in an interview, you should be yourself. So that's why it's important to give off that perspective when you are conveying your body language. But great job, Violet.
Thank you.
Yeah, great presentation, Violet. And not only that, but detailed. I think for the group, I think and I'll have to comment on that. I think, you know, you have to come to these conferences so you kind of see the interactions. I think Gabe did do a good job of it, and Philip while we were there, and Ritvik, everyone who attended ACSM, you have a chance to interact with a lot of these high-level physicians. So as Gabe alluded to, you engage with them, but you let them discuss things. It allows them to expand. And they not only that, but they know that you're willing to learn and listen. It just nurtures that relationship. I think, what Gabe brought up is an important point. You're kind of listening to that person. On that note, I think there's one more point. And I think, Violet, you didn't discuss, and I think this is, I also am at flaw for it, fidgeting. It's a challenge to control that because you're nervous, you're trying to figure out. It depends on the situation, the scenario, and what you're doing. If you're being interviewed, and we've all been there, it does take practice, as Violet stated. It takes effort to control. I think not until towards the, I guess I want to say, end of fourth year is that when after you've you've been bumped around a little bit in the system, you then gain a knowledge of how you should be standing, how you present yourself amongst the group. You have everyone there on rounds. You kind of know the levels of the players that are there, from students all the way up, even volunteers. They're rounding with you, and you know that standard of where you should be. It's an understanding, but it takes practice to try to rein in the positioning of how you should stand and how you should mark your position in the group. And again, it takes time. And whatever area you decide to go into, whether you decide to go into marketing, whether you decide to go into sports analytics, whether you decide to go into computer science, engineering, all of you will be practicing this. Where do you fit in that positioning, and how should you present yourself? And I think anyone who's seen it or has gone through initial interviews that were in person, it's a refinement and practice-based system. Larry, if you don't mind, I guess since you've been the one through most interviews, would you be kind enough to maybe say, I'm assuming you have evolved through the interviews. Am I correct? That's the best way of saying it?
Yeah, I remember in like my early days, like thinking about when I was getting recruited for like lacrosse back in the day, I would do a lot of fidgeting and a lot of like, because my parents.
How do you stand, right? Where should hold on to the stick, let go of the stick, lean on the stick, use it as a cane. How do you decide, right?
And they look at all that stuff, so it's just being really nitpicky with all that, and you don't realize it until you get older that like people do look at that stuff, all the fidgeting and how you're sitting up and if you have good posture and all that stuff.
Again, thank you so much, Larry, for sharing that. I think you must understand we all learn from each other, and I appreciate you disclosing that info. So anyway, everyone, on that note, I just want to make sure, everyone understands it is an important point. And thank you so much, Violet, for bringing that up, because like I said, I think people overlook that or undervalue that. And overall, in the big picture, it's an important point. I mean, even when whoever showed up at ACSM saw us, when I say everyone should be in suits, everyone should be in ties, it separates us from the rest of the pack. We're coming in there from a professional point to represent ourselves. And on that note, thank you.
That will conclude our call for today. We thank everyone for joining us for the Rugby Research and Injury Prevention Group Professional Development. Thank you for joining us today. Have a good night.